Hello, Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Saturday morning group practice. We're going old school. We're going to use just one root text, Zapatru Rinpoche's, the Heart Treasure of Enlightenment. We're going to use just one sadhana or practice text, Tongpo's all-pervading benefit, the very, very concise practice for Avalokiteshvara, also known as Chenrezig. Zig. So let's begin right now. I'm going to go into screen sharing mode. And we're going to begin chanting. For me, this is my 10 a.m. practice. So we're going to use the second quarter of the text. Chant along with me. The heart treasure of the enlightened ones, the practice of you meditation and action. A discourse virtuous in the beginning, middle, and end. Namo Lokeshvaraya. Our fount of compassion, my root teacher, Chenrezig. Lord Chenrezig, you are my only protector. Actually, I made a mistake. Let's try that again. Our fount of compassion, my root teacher. Lord Chenrezig, you are my only protector. The six-syllable mantra essence of your speech is a sublime dharma. From now on, I have no hope but you. Whatever I know, I've left it as Suri. It is no use to me now. I got turned around. Let's try that again. Whatever I know, I've left it as Suri. It is no use to me now. Whatever I've done or spent on this life, it is no use to me now. Whatever I thought was all just illusion, it is no use to me now. Now the time has come to do what's truly useful, recite the six-syllable mantra. The only never-failing constant refuge is the three jewels. The three jewel single essence is Chenrezig. With total unshakable trust in his wisdom, convinced and decisive, recite the six-syllable mantra. The basis of the Mahayana path is the thought of universal enlightenment. This sublime thought is the one path trodden by all the Buddhas. Never leaving this noble path of the thought of universal enlightenment, with compassion for each being, recite the six-syllable mantra. By the way, compassion will play prominently in today's chanting practice. Wandering in samsara from beginning this time until now, whatever you've done was wrong and will lead to further wandering. From your heart acknowledge all wrongdoing and downfalls, and confessing them with the four powers complete, recite the six-syllable mantra. The mind holding on to and I clings to everything, this is the cause of samsara. So as offerings to the exalted in nirvana, and charity to the lowly in samsara. Give everything, body, possessions, and virtue, and dedicate the merit to all. Casting all attachments far away, recite the six-syllable mantra. Of course, that reminds me of the song Whoopi Goldberg used to sing, "Don't be a greedy bastard." The noble teacher has the nature of all Buddhas, and of all Buddhas it is he who is the kindest. Seeing the teacher as inseparable from Chenrezig, with fervent devotion recite the 6-syllable mantra. Here we find the obscurations initiating the practice of the path and actualizing the four kayas. The essence of the four empowerments is the teacher Chenrezig. If you recognize your own mind as the teacher, all four empowerments are complete. Receiving innate empowerment by yourself, recite the 6-syllable mantra. Recognizing your own mind as the teacher is the essence of the Dzogchen path. By noticing whatever we're thinking or emoting or recalling or fantasizing or thinking about generally, and then relaxing into it, we get to be taught by our own thoughts and emotions and memories and fantasies, whether they be glorious or whether they be grotesque. Samsara is nothing other than how things appear to you. If you recognize everything as the yidam, the good of others is consummated. Sing the purity of everything, invisible empowerments on all things at once. Stretching the depths of samsara, recite the 6-syllable mantra. The mind cannot cope with all the many visualization practices. To meditate on one sukata is to meditate on them all. Whatever appears, appearances are the form of the great compassionate one. In the realm of the Yidam's body, apparent yet void, recite the 6-syllable mantra. So let's explore that. Some statements are figurative, and other statements are literal. The figurative statement is there's a way of going through life wherein all physical bodies are like Chenrezigs. How do we access that? What is the key that unlocks the door to that experience? Meditating upon how all bodies are appearing yet void, appearing yet empty, appearing yet non-graspable. By performing that literal meditation, we experience the figurative accomplishment of seeing all things as being like the Buddha of compassion. Let's continue. Recitations are dhanas and powerful spells such as complications. The all-inclusive 6-syllable mantra is the very sound of the Dharma. All sounds have never been other than the speech of sublime Chenrezig. Recognizing them as mantra resounding yet void, recite the 6-syllable mantra. Likewise, we are supposed to tread the path of mindfulness and insight. But we can't be mindful of our perceptions cannot be spontaneous if they are contrived. If we're trying to force ourselves to hear or think a specific way, that's contrived. If we notice whatever sound spontaneously manifests and then relax into it, that is a literal way to experience the figurative 6-syllable mantra. Let's continue. As thoughts in the two obscurations or pacified experience and realization increase, as your perceptions come under control, enemies and obstructing influences are subjugated. It is Chenrezig who bestows in this very life the supreme and common cities. As the four activities are accomplished by themselves, recite the 6-syllable mantra. Offer the dharma of whatever arises to the yes of immediate liberation. Mold the clay of whatever appears into the tsatsa of what appearance. Offer the prostration of non-duality to the Lord of my nature. Consummating these dharma activities, recite the 6-syllable mantra. And the theme is continuing. Whatever arises, we liberate it. Whatever appears, we explore its non-graspable nature. How do we do that? By noticing and relaxing. Let's continue. Overcome your enemy hatred with the weapon of love. Protect your family, the beings of the 6 realms, with the skillful means of compassion. Excuse me. Harvest from the field of devotion the crop of experience and realization. Consummating your life's work, recite the 6-syllable mantra. Cremate that old corpse of clinging to things as real in the fire of non-attachment. Conduct the weekly funeral ceremonies of ordinary life by practicing the essence of Dharma. As a smoke offering to provide for the departed, dedicate your accumulated merit for all the future lives. Consummating all positive actions done for the sake of the dead, recite the 6-syllable mantra. Put your child devotion at the doorway of your practice. Give your son renunciation, mastery over the household of ordinary life. Wed your daughter compassion to the bridegroom of the 3 worlds, consummating your duty to the living, recite the 6-syllable mantra. Although every variation of this practice contains devotion, renunciation, and compassion, in the morning elective, we emphasize devotion because it's quite energizing. And in the evening version, or elective, of this practice, we emphasize compassion because it helps us to let go even further. Then we talk about renunciation, and in the chanting portion of this practice, the one that we do, every time we use it, what will we renounce? We will renounce 6 things. And those are hate, greed, confusion, fears, jealousy, and pride. Or to put it another way, we will be renouncing the coarse hate of hate and the subtle hate of jealousy. We're renouncing the coarse greed as well as the subtle greed of fear. The coarse confusion of confusion and the subtle confusion of pride. Okay, let's continue. Whatever appears as illusion and has no true existence, samsara and nirvana are just thoughts and nothing more. If you can liberate thoughts as they arise, that includes all the stages of the path. Applying the essential instruction for liberating thoughts, recite the 6-syllable mantra. All right. There are 4 primary sects in Tibet. One of the sects, the Gelug, emphasizes the stages of the path to enlightenment. And there are many of the stages. But here, Patrul teaches that all the stages are included within this one stage, which is noticing and relaxing. Your own mind aware and void inseparably is Dharmakaya. Leave everything as it is, and fundamental simplicity and clarity will arise by itself. Only by doing nothing will you do all there is to be done. Leaving everything in naked void awareness, recite the six-syllable mantra. Naked awareness sounds like, naughty, naughty tantra play, but what it really means is be vulnerable to the spontaneity of the present moment, whether it's glorious, whether it is grotesque. Let stillness cut the momentum of moving thoughts. Within movement see the very nature of stillness. Where stillness and movement are one, maintain the natural mind. In the experience of one-pointedness, recite the six-syllable mantra. By examining relative truth, establish absolute truth. With an absolute truth, see a relative truth arises. Where the two truths are inseparable beyond intellect is the state of simplicity. In the view free of all elaboration, recite the six-syllable mantra. From appearances cut away the clinging of mind. From mind demolish the layer of fictitious appearances. Where mind and appearances or one is infinite openness. In the realization of one taste, recite the six-syllable mantra. And then we conclude this quarter of the root text. The whole treasure of the enlightened ones, the practice of the meditation and action. A discourse virtuous in the beginning, middle, and end. Namo Lokeshwaraya. Let's minimize this text and open up our sadhana. There it is, folks. This sadhana was written by Tang Tong Gyalpo, famous as both a Manipa, a Dzogchenpa, and a bridge builder. Let's chant the prayer of refuge and bodhicitta while using the bookend chant. And let's perform this for 3 repetitions. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge in attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity, and so on may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge in attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity, and so on may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge in attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity, and so on may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. And now we begin using the triplet chant. This is the first time we will have used the triplet chant in today's class. And here we go. On the crown of my head, and those of each sentient being pervading space, on a white lotus sand, moon from Priya, noble and supreme Avalokiteshvara. He is brilliant white and radiates green, yellow, blue, red, and white lights. Handsome and smiling, he looks on each with eyes of compassion. He has 4 hands, the inner 2 are joined in Anjali, the outer 2 hold a Krishna mala and a white lotus flower. Adorned with ornaments of fine cloth and jewels, he carries a deer upon his shoulders. His guru Amitabha crowns his head, his 2 feet are in the Vajra posture. His back rests against a stainless Muni is the embodiment of each object of Buddhist refuge. Again, we revert to the bookend chant. Lord, white in color, unstained by faults, a perfect Buddha upon your head. You look upon each being with eyes of compassion. Chenrezig, we bow to you. Lord, white in color, unstained by faults, a perfect Buddha upon your head. You look upon each being with eyes of compassion. Chenrezig, we bow to you. Lord, white in color, unstained by faults, a perfect Buddha upon your head. You look upon each being with eyes of compassion. Chenrezig, we bow to you. And we scroll down to the next page. So, now we begin the first half of our chanting practice. If you have a mala, please count it upon your left ring finger. This will help to coalesce your energies towards the region of your navel chakra, which is very sedating. If you do not own a mala, and you can order one from the website, but if you don't own a mala, simply touch your left ring finger to its thumb. On the in-breath, we recite, may all hate now transform into patience. After one breath, it's time for the second exercise. May the hell realm now transform into Sukhavati, it's kind of like a Buddhist heaven, and each of its denizens as Chenrezig patiently vibrate with the tones of the 6 syllables. For instance, hate makes a hell of our experience. By replacing hate with patience, we become much more like Chenrezig, and our experience becomes much more heavenly than it is hellacious. Let's continue. Let's scroll down. May all greed now transform into generosity. May the hungry ghost realm now transform into Sukhavati, and each of its denizens, as Chenrezig, generously vibrate with the tones of the 6 syllables. May all confusion now transform into mindfulness. May the animal realm now transform into a Sukhavati, and each of its denizens as Chenrezig mindfully vibrate with the tones of the 6 syllables. May all fear and lack now transform into kind ethics. Because let's face it, folks, lack and our fears concerning lack can take a toll upon our ethics. May the human realm now transform into Sukhavati and each of its denizens as Chenrezig ethically vibrate with the tones of the 6 syllables. May all jealousy now transform into humble zeal. May all pride now transform into insight. May the God realm now transform into Sukhavati and each of its denizens as Chenrezig insightfully vibrate with the tones of the 6 syllables. That's our first mala of the 6-syllable mantra. Let us now continue with our triplet chants. Birth after birth through all, our lives may we liberate beings of the impure realms by activity equal to yours, Avalokiteshvara. And may the supreme speech of your 6-syllable mantra pervade their 10 directions. Noble and Supreme One, by the power of supplicating you may beings to be attained by us, practice karma and its results and apply themselves to virtuous actions. May they act in harmony with Dharma for the benefit of beings. Due to our one-pointed supplication, may light rays stream forth from the body of the Noble One and purify impure karmic appearances and mistaken consciousness. Now, let's do these 4 verse lines and these 2 lines in one great big breath. The outer world is like the pure land of Sukhavati, the body, speech, and mind of the inhabitants within are like the body, speech, and mind of Chenrezig. If we realize that appearances, sound, and awareness are inseparable from vast openness. All right, so I promised you that during the second half of the mantra recitation, we would explore emptiness so that it makes more sense, not necessarily intellectually, but viscerally in our gut, or as my people, the Jews, would say, in our shpilkas. Please continue to count your mala with your left ring finger. If you do not have a mala, you can order one online. Simply touch the tip of your left ring finger to its thumb while doing nothing with your right fingers. So all we're going to do is invite our awareness to our body while relaxing. How relax into the awareness of my body, and then as we recite Om Mani Padme Hum, do your best to relax. And of course, we'll do this for 2 breaths. And now for 1 breath, like Chenri Zig, how could my body also be appearing yet as non-graspable as vast open space? You do this every morning and every evening. After about a week, you'll get it. You'll notice the word relax is bold, as well as the word open. That's a hint that the key to understanding openness or voidness or emptiness is through relaxation. And these questions are rhetorical. We don't get to answer these questions. You simply ask these questions and then relax into the mantra as well as best you can. For 2 breaths, I'll relax into the awareness of my speech. And at this moment, our speech is simply Om Mani Padme Hum. And now, for just 1 breath, like Chenri Zig, how could my speech also be resounding, yet as non-graspable as vast open space? Chenri Zig is Tibetan for he who listens, he who hearkens to the cries of the world. In India, that same name can be translated as Avalokiteshvara, and in China as Quan Yin Pusa, sometimes shortened down to simply Kuan Yin. Whether we view the Buddha of compassion literally or figuratively, the Buddha who personifies the union of compassion and wisdom can be a wonderful archetype for us, for by cultivating both compassion and wisdom, we too can rapidly become enlightened. For the next 2 breaths, I'll relax into the awareness of my mind. And for 1 breath, like Chenri Zig, how could my mind also be lucid, yet as a non-graspable as a vast open space? Now we explore the releasing of the 3 spheres. So that can seem weird. So what we're going to do is give you an example. For instance, let's pretend we're feeling pain in our stomach now. We could first ask how relaxed into the circumstance of this pain. But as you can tell, there are many things you could play with. There are about, let's see, 5, yeah, there's about 12 options to play with. But anyway, how relaxed into the circumstance of this pain. For instance, that which you might blame the pain upon. Now we're going to focus on the actual sensation, the physical sensation of pain. How relaxed into this pain. And lastly, how relaxed into the mind that is aware of this pain. For the last portion of our recitation practice or our mantra practice, we're going to perform this very generalized rhetorical question 3 times. How relax into the awareness of this? Now, beforehand, we were defining what we were relaxing into, whether it was our body, or our voice, or our mind, or what we were noticing, what we were blaming, what we were experiencing, and the mind that experiences. Now we're just going to use the word this. And that connotes whatever is spontaneously occurring in our circumstance, in our body, in our mind. Whatever's going on, pleasurable or painful, glorious or grotesque, notice it and relax in harmony with the mantra. And that was about 2 1/4 mala. Please continue to count your mala upon your left ring finger. Go back to your starting point on your mala. Reset your counters if you have one. And now we begin our silent meditation. And this is going to be as easy and simple as it is scary. On the in-breath, we're going to silently and mentally recite the word noticing. On the out-breath, we're going to silently and mentally recite the word relaxing. But we're going to do more than just recite these verbs. We are actually going to intend to perform them. So we're going to strive to notice what we're experiencing and then relax into what we're experiencing. If we do that, both mentally and silently recite, as well as mentally notice and relax, we will make progress on the path, and our mind will function as our own guru, our own Lama, our own Kenpo, our own Geshe, our own teacher, our own Buddha. Come to take us by the hand and walk us into Nirvana. Setting the timer, our meditation begins now. Noticing, relaxing. Eyes half open, posture erect. Our job is not to suppress thoughts, but our job is also not to chase thoughts. When thoughts come up, notice them and relax. You don't need to mock them or denigrate them. Just notice and relax. At this point, after completing about a mala or 100 breaths, 112 breaths, we now switch to a shorter version, which is simply this ease. Same idea, just one syllable each. We have completed our first half hour of meditation. We turn the page. We're going to skip page 15, for that is an excellent morning practice, but we're going to do an evening practice right now. Togals, whoopsie, that's a typo. It should say Togals leap over practice. Now, we're going to begin this with one of 6 electives. We'll only do one of the 6 electives. Please count your mala with your left index finger. If you do not have a mala, simply touch your left index finger to its thumb. We're going to begin. This is like Festival of Teas. First we did Tuma at your navel. Now we're doing a bit of the old Tonglen, taking and giving. So take all hate as no smoke. Can you imagine everyone's hate transforming into smoke and going up your nose? And then giving patience. So that all that hate transforms into patience in the aspect of light that leaps through your 84,000 pores and goes in the 10 directions and blesses everyone. Don't worry, you don't have to be a wizard. At the very least, this is training your mind in compassion. Take all hate as no smoke, give patience as poor light. We're going to do that for a quarter mala. And you may feel your eyes spontaneously roll up away from the floor and more towards eye level or perhaps even sky level. Don't force this, just let it happen. Take all hate as no smoke, give patience as poor light. And we scroll down. Until we come to the same two exercises we previously played with. Let's begin with noticing, relaxing. This is particularly lovely to do at sunset or at sunrise when the sky is epic and spectacular. And now we move from 3 syllables down to 1 syllable. This is. Meditation reminds me of the spaghetti western, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because there's no telling what's coming up. Previously, when we were counting our mala with our ring finger, we felt our breath most strongly in our belly. Now that we're counting with our index finger, we feel our breath most strongly in the upper chest. And that was the duck to let us know it's time to stop meditating. Generated a lot of good karma, positive energy. Now let's aim it compassionately at the following recitation. Let's use the triplet chant. The physical appearance of myself and others is like the body of the noble one. Sounds all like the melody of the 6 syllables, also like the expanse of great wisdom. By this merit may we quickly accomplish Avalokiteshvara and establish every being without exception in that state. This is a lovely practice text. We don't muck about with things like health or wealth, just simple things like personal enlightenment, universal enlightenment, auspicious rebirth for everyone, spiritual practice for everyone. This is a very simple practice. Now, we've been sitting for the better part of an hour and a half, which isn't great for our health. And I found it most sustainable to conclude the practice, where am I? With a bit of the old Buddha bowing. So let me take this text and make it larger. All right. And as always, if you have any questions, write them out in more detail in the comment area below. I'm currently off camera as I'm opening up my yoga mats. Otherwise, these hardwood wood floors will bruise my knees, and nobody wants that. Let's sing and try to set up the camera at an interesting angle, if not disturbing. Yes, that's right. It's Lama vision in 3D. I recommend counting your mala using your left index finger. We're going to be performing a quarter mala, 28 Buddha bows. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. The merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merits of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge. From now until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. The merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. In the Supreme Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly, I take refuge until attaining enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings. Let's coil our mala and give it a bless. Oopsie, fun with the cord. All right. Let's continue chanting. By this merit may we quickly accomplish Avanagedeshvara and establish every being without exception in that state. By the merit of reciting and meditating in this way, may we and all beings with whom we are connected, as soon as we have left behind this impure body, but miraculously born in Sukhavati, as soon as we are born, then may we traverse certain bhumis and benefit all others in the 10 directions through our emanations. By this merit may each being perfect the 2 accumulations of merit and wisdom, and achieve the 2 genuine kayas arising from merit and wisdom. In whomever the precious bodhicitta has not arisen, may it arise. In whomever it has arisen, may it not decline but increase further and further. That, my friends, concludes our practice. Once again, if you have any questions, write them out in lurid detail in the commentary below. Right below the video, there's a button that reads Show More. When you click that, you'll gain access to a whole bunch of links and a whole bunch of neat stuff, including an opportunity to register for the next series of weekly webinars. We'll restart you off, assuming that you can't spell the word Buddha. And over the course of 12 weeks, incrementally, we build you up from 5 minutes worth of meditation all the way up to an hour's worth of meditation. May you and yours be healthy and happy. Bye-bye now.